Koto v. Attorney General 2012. This decision upheld executive discretion in governance to the extent that the President can act within the authority granted to him by Parliament without further approvals. It has significant implications for governance, particularly in how the President exercises executive authority under Ghana's legal framework. The plaintiff, Bafo Koto, challenged the validity of 3 executive instruments through which the President of Ghana created new districts. His argument was that these instruments should have been laid before Parliament for approval before they could take effect. He relied on Article 11, Clause 7 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, which states that any order, rule, or regulation made by an authority under the Constitution or any other law must be laid before Parliament, published in the Gazette, and be made to come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days after being laid, unless Parliament annuls it by a resolution of not less than 2/3 of all the members of Parliament. The Court, in distinguishing between legislative and executive instruments, held that legislative instruments, LIs, are made under an express delegation of lawmaking power by Parliament to an authority, and therefore must be laid before Parliament for approval. Executive instruments, EIs, on the other hand, are issued to give effect to executive or administrative actions and are not subject to parliamentary scrutiny. The Court emphasised that Article 11 clause applies only to legislative instruments and not to executive instruments insofar as they constitute instruments of executive power. With specific reference to the executive instruments in question, the Court held that insofar as Parliament has already granted full authority to the President to create new districts through the Local Government Act, 1993, Act 462, there was no further need for parliamentary oversight in individual cases. The Court emphasised that to the extent that the President's power to create districts constitutes an executive function and not a legislative one, the issuance of executive instruments in that regard, with such parliamentary supervision, will amount to a violation of the doctrine of separation of powers. To this extent, the President acted within his constitutional mandate, and the issuance of the executive instrument was lawful.